And I want you to know one thing. It's been a pleasure. You just like to dance, don't you, Carl?
That's right.
You like to dance. That was famous. Hello, welcome to 101. I'm your host, Greg Walker. Hopefully you tuned in last week to our show with my good friend and guest, Richard Rogers. Richard lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee. We're really proud that he came to visit with us today. We had a lot of fun last week. We're going to get to know him much better today and talk about a wide variety of subject matter. Settle back, relax, enjoy once again a fun, down-to-earth conversation with a very interesting gentleman and a good man. Richard Rogers joins us, show number 2. Back with our guest right after these words.
It's the Nissan Now sales event at Matthews Nissan, voted Clarksville's best place to buy a car.
Nissan was a major hit at the auto show.
$7,877 off a new Altima. New Versa, $10,677. $6,777 off a new Rogue. $11,777 off a new Titan. Incredible.
Get big savings at MatthewsNissan.com.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
Life is good. Through the years, you've worked, played, and vowed to protect each other. Because you love her, you make sure you have made your final arrangements. Pre-planning protects your loved ones from the burden of making those decisions during a time of loss. At Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home, services are professional, personal, dignified, and affordable.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
Welcome, show number 2, our guest, Richard Rogers. Good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Man, we had a show between shows, didn't we?
We did. We did.
Talking about an old friend of ours, Jim Kitchen. Wasn't that a bird?
He was.
I mean, he was something else. I hadn't seen Sam Malone in a while either, and I miss old Sam.
Jim is the one that gave me my nickname.
Dickie Bird? I wondered where that came from.
He's the one that gave it to me.
How did he come up with that? He could come up with some of the doggonest. He just liked you automatically, didn't he?
He did. He
did.
He did. And
everybody liked you, though.
Well, I don't know about that, but he did. So, yeah.
Now, we left off the first show, well, the second segment. Of course, Richard was in finance and healthcare investigations. 40 years with the feds and the TBI, law enforcement. He went to Austin Peay, got his degree in accounting, fell in love with it when he was in the Army. That sort of led him in that direction. We were talking about some of the things you learned while in this field and some of the interesting cases you had. And you fooled with the big dogs. You didn't fool with little mom and pop stores and all. You were going after the real criminals that were feeding off of the little guys, weren't you, Richard?
I did have quite a few of those cases. I was blessed to get some tough assignments and
high-profile cases.
Well, some of them were, and they had some very good representation, as we mentioned earlier about
Jim
Neal being defense attorney on some, and that was just a pleasure to work with a man like him.
Right. What about this investigation you had in Memphis, the healthcare investigation? I believe it was Memphis. We've talked so much over the...
It was the one investigation that I had was a task force. It was a telemarketing task force.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was in Chattanooga.
Oh, was it?
At that time, there were these telemarketers set up in places like Buffalo, New York, San Diego, Chattanooga, of all places. Mm-hmm. There were like 4 or 5 or 6 of those guys that were operating in and around Chattanooga. And they sent me down there to hopefully bring a case that they could prosecute. And I was able to do that. They were preying on the elderly. They would call and like some people do now. They call the elderly and say that you know, you've won this prize if you prepay the taxes of
Right.
$3,500.
Yeah.
We had one retired doctor in Florida that lost over $700,000
Oh no.
by these people. So bringing this person to justice in federal court, I got a lot of satisfaction out
Well,
of
who
that. That
wouldn't?
I thought I helped some elderly by keeping these guys at
Well,
bay.
sure, absolutely. Now, did you work for the Blanton administration or to get him?
No, I did not work for. I was with the federal government at that time, and I did have an investigation on one of his appointees in the state government on or about that time, and but it was during the time that they were investigating Blanton that I had this case too. So.
Your 40 years of law enforcement, what were some of the most rewarding times for you?
Well, one that we just spoke of, that telemarketing task force, that was probably the number one. I guess one of the things that I did get an assignment that I wasn't able to complete was on the Whitewater investigation. I was one of the first two IRS agents selected to go out and work on that investigation. I wasn't able.
Clintons.
Yes, the Clinton Whitewater investigation.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to complete that assignment because of a head injury I sustained in a surveillance accident, but I was selected and was grateful for that.
Head injury and surveillance accident.
Yeah. Yeah, we were in a surveillance van and conducting surveillance, and this vehicle lost control and hit the surveillance vehicle and caused a head injury for me.
Wonder if that was an accident or on purpose.
I think from all indications, it was an accident. This young man had just bought this new pickup truck, and it was raining that day, and he lost control of it and slid into us.
Well, you know, me just thinking the way I do, I'm automatically on that deal, wondering, you know.
Sure.
Who were some of the people that you admired growing up and maybe even as an adult?
Well, not to go back too far, but one of the guys that I really leaned on was a guy at church. Who was a youth minister at our church back in the day, of Ronnie Oliphant.
Yeah, I knew that.
I really thought highly of him. I was.
We all liked him.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
Good man.
I thought more highly of Brother Brewer's daughter, Teresa, but you thought more of Ronnie.
I did.
No.
Yeah. I really held Jim Neal in high regard, as you can tell.
Sure.
People like that made a big impression on me. The honorable men.
I got you. Let's do it this way. Any sports heroes growing up?
Yeah, I liked Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, back in the day. I tried to pick a sport that I could keep playing even as I got older,
You've picked it.
and I really held those guys in high regard.
Isn't it a shame that when we were kids, we had to pick that sport up late? We didn't have anywhere to play.
No, that's right.
I mean,
That's
you know,
right.
the country club was where Mason Rudolph is now, you know, and that was the country club, and that's it. If you weren't a member of the country club, you didn't play golf.
Back in that day, I had to travel to Hopkinsville to play Skyline.
Par 3.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's we all did. I picked up my first club and swung it at 19 or 20,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But you like the golfers. They were your sports heroes
They were.
basically coming
They
up.
were.
What have been some of your best times of your life?
Wow, that's an interesting subject.
And let's exclude your wedding and the birth of your daughters and all of those things. I mean, everybody, those are great times for everyone.
Well, they are. I guess my best time is on my bucket list was to go to the Masters and be there on a Sunday. And my wife honored that request and got me tickets to go for the 2009 Masters tournament when Kenny Perry lost in sudden death to Angel Cabrera.
Yeah.
She thought I was going to take a buddy, but I wound up taking her, and she just dearly loved it.
Really?
Dearly loved it. We sat on the first tee, and we watched everybody tee off.
Right.
And the way the holes are aligned, the ninth hole is right there close to it. So we just moved and watched everybody come in on 9, and then we moved again and just watched everybody come in on 18. And you had these seats, and you'd put all your stuff that you bought at the gift shop, put it there, walk away. You might have $500 worth of stuff there. Nobody would bother it.
Right.
You leave it there all day if you wanted. Nobody would bother it.
Right.
Nobody touched it. It's just a different place.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful place.
It's a game of honor.
It is.
It's a sport of honor.
It is.
You know, that's the way it is.
That was the epitome for me.
Right. And
Loved it.
you've gone back since.
Loved it. Yes.
Yeah, but you know, really, the Sunday is the worst day you can go. You do know that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
You need to be watching on TV that day. Go Saturday or Friday or Thursday.
True.
I'm just saying. Are you still as big a sports fan as you were at one time?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you really?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Only thing you play now, though, is golf, right?
Right. Right.
I can
that's the only
understand
thing.
that. Which teams as a kid did you root for? Or who do you root for now, too? Then and now.
Growing up, I was a Yankees fan.
I knew it.
Mickey Mantle.
I knew that, yeah.
Now I didn't play for those when I was in Little League, but that's who I was a fan of, the Yankees.
You played for Whitey Albright, didn't you?
I did.
You know,
I did. Cardinals.
Cardinals.
I did.
You're not a St. Louis Cardinal fan.
No, no. But I guess basketball, I was always a Boston Celtics fan.
Yeah.
A big Austin Peay supporter, fan. Not as much of a supporter nowadays, but big fan. Still a big fan.
Vanderbilt or UT?
Vanderbilt.
Me too, always have been. Richard Rogers, Show 2, back with segment 2 right after this.
When your heart is full of grief, the last thing on your mind are the details. At Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home, we specialize in handling all the planning for the celebration of life your loved ones deserve. Neil Tarpley Parchman offers services for all faiths and veterans. In your hour of need, we care.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
Richard Rogers, our guest. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 shows. I can't tell you how much fun it's been having you, man.
A lot of fun for me,
Reminiscing a little
too.
bit. If you had your life to live over, would you make any major changes?
I don't know that I would, Greg. I guess the life that I've lived has made me who I am today.
Right. Right.
So I probably would have changed some things that I did as a young man, because I did some things that I shouldn't have done.
Hadn't we all?
But like I said, that's made me who I am,
Right.
and hopefully I'm a better man today than I was then, and I think that's how it's supposed to be.
Let me tell you something. You've always been a good man. When you became a man, you've been a good man. We were kids.
Yeah,
We were young and dumb, wild and free.
yeah,
We didn't
yeah.
think about the consequences,
Right,
you
right.
know. What's the best advice Richard Rogers has ever received?
Well, I'm going to give you my interpretation of it, and then I'll tell you the story.
All right.
The best advice I ever got was, don't let life steal your happy.
Don't let life steal your happiness or happy.
Where that came from, and that's not what my mama told me, but that's my interpretation of it.
Right.
Back in that day, my dad left when I was a senior in high school. My mom and dad divorced, and
I remember
that was
well.
pretty traumatic for me.
It was.
And there were some dark days for me, and my mom could see that. And my mom said, son, don't let what goes on in your life rob you from being who you are.
Bless her heart.
You need to rejoice in the situation. You need to. What she was doing was quoting Scripture.
That's exactly what she was doing, because she was a big believer.
1 Thessalonians 5:18, rejoice in all things.
Right.
That's what she was saying.
Sure it is.
But that's my interpretation of what she was saying.
Well, it's
Don't let life steal you happy.
Yeah.
And I've tried to live that way. I even had my first boss in the federal government say, you're not going to get anywhere if you go around laughing all the time and having a good time. And I said, that's who I am. I like to have a good time.
No, really.
But
I mean, hey, if I can't laugh, Gary Wallace, when we talk on the phone or we get together, I mean, I laugh with a lot of people, but man, if you can't laugh, we both said it, I'm ready to go.
oh yeah,
I mean, laughter, it's what it's all about, being able to laugh and enjoy life like that.
and you can control that. You can control how you react to things. You can control yourself.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can. Most of us can. And I like to be happy.
I do too. I do too. I try not to be depressed. I've had some say, Greg, you got a lot to be depressed about. I'm blessed. I'm not. Oh, I am blessed, and I know I'm blessed.
I am too.
You know,
I
I
am
got
too.
a friend like you. That's a blessing in itself. Friends are a blessing. Getting
You're
up
right.
this morning was a blessing, wasn't it?
That's right.
You know.
Absolutely.
Are you into politics at all?
I'm basically a conservative, a physical conservative.
Right.
I am. Politics, what I see in Washington just disgusts me because we can't get along. I saw in this morning's paper, I get the digital version, but I saw a Supreme Court Justice, Ms. Sotomayor, say, the person that she disagrees most with is Clarence Thomas, and yet she loves that man. They are very close. So they're on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but they get along.
I love that.
Why couldn't we have that in Congress?
Why can't everybody get along? I mean, really?
You can disagree, but you can get along.
Absolutely.
We don't have any more statesmen. We
No.
have politicians.
Absolutely. Backstabbing. What can I do for myself?
Yes.
It's not about you, it's about me. Is there anyone you would have liked to get to know in your lifetime that you never got to meet?
Wow. What a great question. Ronald Reagan.
There's a conservative.
I really liked how he went about his business. I think he's one of the last politicians, former Hollywood types,
Yeah.
that really made a substantial impact on our nation.
He really did, didn't he?
I think he did.
He was first. I mean, he was pretty special. I mean, he just had that charisma.
He did.
He had what it took.
He was a leader.
He was a leader of men. He
was a
really
leader.
was.
He impacted international. He got the wall tore down.
Yes, he did. And it wasn't brick by brick.
No, it wasn't.
He did it different than Butch Jones.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
What's your favorite music?
Country music.
Food.
Steak.
Nothing wrong with good
Filet.
steak. Like any vegetable?
I do. I like a lot of green vegetables. Turnip greens. I like turnip greens.
My favorite vegetable, if they're done right.
Yes,
Got
that's
to be
right.
done
That's
right.
right.
Movies, you like movies?
Don't get to see a lot of movies.
TV?
TV. I like all the suspense, the NCIS, Criminal Minds.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
All of that stuff. Yeah.
Is Gorn and Eames, are they bad news?
I'm sorry?
That's Law and Order, Criminal Intent.
Oh.
What about reading? You a big reader?
I've learned that I love reading, and I have to keep a list of the books that I've read, or I'll wind up getting the same book twice.
No kidding.
I do.
My wife's like that.
I like James Patterson, John Sanford, those kinds of writers.
Right. Do you have any hobbies?
Like
Golf.
to play golf, of course, when I can.
How often you get to play?
I haven't played yet this year, but I try to play at least once a week if the weather's good. And
When you're playing
circumstances.
regular, strongest part of your game?
Probably driving the golf ball.
What about putting?
I got the yips,
Oh,
and so I have to get that long putter that they
the outlawed?
well, they didn't outlaw the putter, they outlawed anchoring it.
Yeah.
So I have to hold it out here, but I can putt now with the long putter.
Long putter. Richard Rogers, show number 2. I hope you've enjoyed them both. Stretch run right after this.
It's the Nissan Now sales event at Matthews Nissan, voted Clarksville's best place to buy a car.
Nissan was a major hit at the auto show.
$7,877 off a new Altima. New Versa, $10,677. $6,777 off a new Rogue. $11,777 off a new Titan. Incredible!
Get big savings at MatthewsNissan.com.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
When your heart is full of grief, the last thing on your mind are the details. At Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home, we specialize in handling all the planning for the celebration of life your loved ones deserve. Neil Tarpley Parchman offers services for all faiths and veterans. In your hour of need, we care.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
We've only got about 3.5 minutes left. It's been 2 fun shows with Richard Rogers. And my goodness, Richard, I've looked forward to this. If you didn't know, and I'll say it again, when we were coming up, Richard's a couple of years older, but like he was a senior when I was a sophomore, but when we were children in church, guys like David Cummings and Gary Wallace and Bill Green and all the others that I'm leaving out, we all looked up to you, man, because you treated us like one of the guys. I guess we were one of the guys in church.
I never knew that, Greg.
Oh, yeah,
I
man.
never knew that.
Thought the world of you. You were a good role model for us. I always thought that. And I always didn't think you got the credit that you deserve for being the athlete that you were coming up, because you were an excellent athlete. Hey, you know I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it.
Well, I appreciate that.
I wouldn't say it. I'm not just giving false praise. Goodness knows I don't do that. And it's carried on today. Here you are playing golf all the time. And as we tape this show on the 4th of April, we're both getting ready for the Masters this weekend.
Absolutely.
Now, you picked Thomas.
I did.
You know, of course, Johnson's going to be hard to beat if he's on, if he doesn't let right between here beat him. If you had to pick did you like seeing Sergio win last year?
I did. I thought it was his time.
I did too.
I thought he deserved it
He
after
did.
so many years.
And you know, I like him. Of course, I think I got to liking him more watching him on Faraday too. You ever watch Faraday?
I do.
It's a great show, isn't it?
He's a great interviewer
He
too.
really is. I mean, it's a great show.
Funny.
Funny, man. Funny. You have a sleeper? If you had to pick a sleeper,
I'm gonna pick one that's gonna surprise you, and I'm not gonna be able to pronounce his last name.
that's what a sleeper is.
Xander Schauffele.
Schauffele?
Yes.
Xander Schauffele?
Yes.
That is an interesting pick. Well, I'm going to tell you who I think's interesting, and he just won the Houston Open.
Oh. Ian Poulter,
Just qualified.
last man in the field.
Yeah, last man in the field. If he's putting, he's dangerous.
That's a big if down there.
You got to be putting there. If you're not putting there, you're out to lunch, aren't you?
Yeah, you might not make it to the weekend.
Boy, I felt so bad for Scott Hoke for so many years. If he could have putted it all.
know.
Remember that short putt he missed? My goodness.
Easy to do there, though.
It is, though, buddy.
Gosh.
But we're going to be tuned in and down, aren't we?
We are.
Would you give your love to your family for me?
I will. Thank you, Greg.
You know I love you.
Love you
No
too, brother.
question, buddy. I really do. And I thank you for watching the show on the internet. I know that's how you watch it, but you do.
I do.
You know, you knew that best advice was coming for sure. You were ready for that one.
I was.
For Richard Rogers, our guest, the last two shows, I hope you enjoyed them. For yours truly, Greg Walker, until next time, have a nice rest of the day, folks.